Hello everyone, my name is Marky and welcome to my YouTube channel. How are you guys doing today? I hope you guys are doing well, and yes, I am completely aware that I haven't uploaded a video for the past 5 months, I think. In case you didn't know, I am an art student and I spend most of my time making artworks from different medias of art. On this video, I'm proud enough to show you all of the artworks that I made from winter of 2020 to the past month or so. You'll be seeing my art projects from my graphic design class and a class I took called Computer as Creative Media, and the rest of them would fall under digital art, sketches, oil paint, and many more. I actually made a similar video like this last year, and you can click it on the icon right there on top. And we are starting strong with the logo I made in my graphic design class. The assignment is to come up with a logo with a strong silhouette that's fitting enough to be a logo. So the first phase on this assignment is to draw or sketch 100 different designs based on the client's aesthetic or description, and then they're going to pick the top 3 that they like, and among those 3 they're going to pick one that stood out the best in their eyes. And these are the 3 that were chosen, and then this is the one that they picked. And aside from that, they also wanted us to make a guideline for something that they should do and not do, something like that. Okay, moving on to the next segment, I took a class called Computer as Creative Media, and it's basically a digital art class, but it focuses on vector art, which is completely different from a JPEG file or a PNG file. And here's 2 files I made using the Adobe Illustrator. One is an isometric illustration. As you can see here, I use certain shapes to create different pieces of this artwork, and I love how it turned out. I love the use of color theory in this project because I love how all the colors harmonized. I used different shapes and assembled them into something that is seen in a park, because that was the assignment back then. So there's the gazebo, the fountain, and the different hedges and flowers. And the other piece is a technical drawing using the same software. The assignment is to draw a TV remote using the pen tool and the shape tool, but the challenge is to make it as realistic as we can, so we tend to avoid using flat colors, so we added some texture, grain, gloss, shadows into the remote to make it look 3D or something that's not really flat, if that makes sense. Because like digital art enough is already flat, so we need to add a little pizzazz here and there, you know. One thing I did this summer is design a book cover from a novel that I enjoyed reading this year, and that's The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is one of my favorite books I've read this year, therefore I made some mock-ups of what it would look like in real life using an illustration I made on my iPad. Speaking of books, I also read The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller and fell in love with the characters, so I made a fan art of Achilles and Patroclus. Here's a quick story about The Song of Achilles. So I work at Barnes & Noble and I was at customer service. There's this lovely customer who came up to me and asked me if we have The Song of Achilles, and I was like, I'm not familiar with that title, let me look it up. And then I realized I think they were looking for The Song of Achilles, and I'm like, poor girl, she's probably never exposed to Greek mythology in her life. But yeah, that was kind of fun how they pronounced it as like Achilles, Song of Achilles, you know. Here's another fan art from a book I enjoyed reading this year by Leigh Bardugo, and that's the Six of Crows. And this is how I imagined Kazbreker and 𝕨𝕒𝕟𝕟 in this series. Next, I also drew the Scarlet Witch from the Disney Plus original WandaVision, or you might know her as Wanda Maximoff. And this was her final look in the season finale, and that show was badass. One of the greatest TV shows I've seen in years, I would say. The next thing I drew is a stylized portrait of myself, and I love how it turned out. I was experimenting at this time on what art style I should be using or something. It looks great, and I used it as my profile picture on my social media before. But yeah, and another thing that I made that I'm really proud of is this landscape. I made this for my finals, and it was based on a photograph I've seen on unsplash.com, and I just added some elements into it that would piece it all together. So I added this moon on top and some fireflies and then wisps on the lake to make it look magical, and I love all the colors that I used on this art piece. I think it works really well, and yeah. And the last digital illustration I made so far is this gouache painting of a photo I found on Pinterest, and I was experimenting with this because I bought this brush pack for the app that I'm using, and this is how it turned out. And those are the illustrations I made using the app called Procreate, which is something you can get from the App Store for $10. And I would say it's worth it. It's what I've been using for all my digital art pieces. The past month I asked my Instagram followers which poster they want to see me make from an artist they love. And speaking of Instagram, why don't you follow me on my Instagram account at @MarkyLawrence, and my art account that I just made, which is m.artkey. Isn't it clever? But yeah, you will be seeing most of the artworks that you see here on this video on that Instagram page, so why don't you follow both of those accounts. So here's a couple that I made requested by my Instagram followers, aka my friends. And I used Photoshop to design all those posters. Let's jump into some traditional art from my sketchbook using a regular pencil. In my spare time, I'm studying the line of action, human anatomy and drawing, and basic facial expressions. And it shows how each page gets better and how I learn from the previous page. Lastly, I painted one canvas using some oil paints, and with this I am practicing different values, highlights, shadows, and all that stuff. Okay, so I made this Greek bust inspired drawing. I kind of like how it turned out. As a painter, it is important to know the light, how the light behaves in certain environments. So this is like a dark setting, and there's like one source of light which is coming from this direction, and yeah, this is the whole painting. That's most of the artworks I made in the span of 6 to 7 months, which brings us to the end of this video. So I hope you guys liked what you saw on this video. As you can see, I'm really passionate about art because I suck at explaining things, so I just make an image that shows all my thoughts into the art piece. And of course, a picture says 1,000 words. So if you like all the things that you saw in this video, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more on this art journey. And if you want to see more of my art, follow my art account at m.artkey. And I will be seeing you in the next video. Bye.